I know some of you have said you'd like to see the spines of these, so would I, but it's purely a space storage thing, so maybe I'll alleviate that. Or maybe I'll just treat the new thing as just storage and leave this as it comes. So we'll have an experiment, we'll see how it comes out. Okay, so this is obviously smaller and area on the top, so it gives me less space for books on the top than the vinyl case did. So I've got quite so much on there. I was hoping to put my books on hauntology and what have you downstairs on top of the bookcase in the living room, but that's just not going to happen. So now we've got to decide what goes in. There's my Addy Man mug on the right. Anybody wondering about the Mitsubishi there, Carabinieri? I love Italian crime fiction and I love Italy, so I think I bought that in Italy. So I'm not really big on die-cast, though you will have noticed I've got a few buses around, Bath ones. I may as well show them to you for a laugh. Here's some of my Bath buses in the Badgerline livery, which is long gone, Nostalgia Fest. And I'm not normally that sort of nerdy that way, but you know, it has its moments. Boys will be boys. And yeah, there's some of my B formats, just some of them, you know, I'm trying to accommodate all this stuff, which is part of the work today. I'm very tempted to stick some hard covers in here because of weight distribution, so maybe I'll get some of my octavos there. And perhaps I could get some A's in the front. Probably not. The ideal thing for these really is A formats, because you can probably go 2 levels. Yeah, look at that, you can go 2 levels quite comfortably. So I'll probably go with that and see what comes out of it. This will probably be quite an elaborate and long process. I imagine my face is looming, filling the camera here. So I might be with you in a few hours' time, we'll see. Okay, so I'll get a row at the back like that. I was looking at my Poole Anderson collection last night. His bibliography is so complicated because of variant titles and what have you. And I'm still surprised how many I want to get. I mean, I'm not a completist. My friend Graham's got about 50. I think I need about another 6, mostly paperbacks. There is one hardcover I'd really, really like. So I need to sort of try and pick them up and then sort of get them in some sort of order. I'm a real stickler for publication order. Obviously, if there's a series to try and get them together. And Poole series are very sort of opaque and difficult to sort of work out across the variant titles. But that's only because I haven't read enough of them. When I've read them, I'll nail it. So a little bit of SF reference on the top shelf there. This is a great book if you find it. Expeditions of the Marvellous. Fantastic stuff. And this is really great. Hell's Cartographers. This is not New Maps of Hell by Kingsley Amis. This is Hell's Cartographers, very similar. And it's got little autobiographical sketches by Bester, Knight, Paul, Silverberg, Harry Harrison and Brian Aldiss. And the Silverberg one is one of my favourite pieces of non-fiction. It's brilliant. I'm going to talk about it at one point. What a career. So that's going to go in the top there. So this is my front row here. Ark Sakura, Gilboa Bay, The Deadly Douglas Adams, and my Aldises, which I think are in publication order there. Now we go into Anderson, and there's more Anderson and Piers Anthony behind. This will be the front row on tier 2 more or less. Some of them may go on the top. I may actually leave some space in these areas for new acquisitions and see how that goes, because of course, you know, you do it this when you're strict about your alphabet and everything, you haven't got any space, then you buy something new, you've got to move everything to fit it in. Now I'm used to doing that at work every single day, you know, and have done for like nearly 40 years. So it's not too bad, but I think I might do that. We'll see. You'll notice that's non-fiction. I do like to put my associational stuff in with the SF when I can. Not the fantasy, but anything that's associational, sort of non-fiction, like Asimov's non-fiction, or say Harlan Ellison's Juvie novels and stories, that kind of thing. So I think associational is quite important to get a feel for a writer's oeuvre. But I do keep fantasy separately. Okay, I've just realised, moving things from one bookcase to another, that I'd forgotten I've got some horror behind a layer of SF, and I know behind this level, now I think about it, there's things like Penguin Mon Classics, stuff like that, so maybe I'll move those over and try and keep the SF here behind the door. And let's see how that pans out. I may be some time. So there's a little bit of my horror there, just out of interest. I was talking about the Warcon 87 the other day and how I didn't have the original program, and I found it online in a PDF and downloaded to look at it, and I realised there was one panel which I didn't go to, and it had Susie McKee Charnes and Chelsea Quinn Yarborough on it, and I wasn't into either then, and gosh, I really wish I had a time machine because I love Chelsea stuff. I'm a huge fan. I've read over 30 of her books. Never met her, and I think she's brilliant. This is one of her historical horror novels. She's just fantastic. There is a video about her on my channel, just about her amazing Saint Germain vampire series, which I absolutely adore. You may not have come across the Paperbacks from Hell series in A format. Most of them are distributed in the UK. They're usually about £12, and not many bookshops keep them. I think they're fantastic. This is Gwen in Green by Hugh Zachary, very strange book. And I used to have a UK original, which I think had a Jim Burns jacket, which is really beautiful. I can find a picture, I'll put it up now. It looks like this. This is one of the Paperbacks from Hell you can't get in the UK because the rights are still held by something else. And I used to have the Sphere original of this, mint, and I sold it like a fool, Lisa Tuttle. I used to have quite a thing for Lisa Tuttle in the 80s. I thought she was quite cute, I must say. And of course, she was George R. R. Martin's girlfriend in the 70s, and she married Christopher Priest in the early 80s. Really good writer. So this is Meat by Ian Watson. Vegetarian horror book from 1987. The only edition there's ever been. Fantastic. If you ever see it, snap it up. It's just brilliant. May as well show you one of my favourite horror novels the last 20 years is Berserk by Tim Lebbon. This is absolutely fantastic. I've read this 3 times, really rip-roaring. I do like my horror novels to be quite traditional, but I do like them quite well written. And Tim, he's done an awful lot, but you know, this is really great stuff. So try and pick it up if you can. Berserk. Finally, for the Lovecraft fans out there, I have mentioned this before. This is New Tales of the Cthulhu Mythos in the late 80s. I'm sure the Arkham House hardcover was much earlier. This is absolutely fantastic. Oh, jacket, and they're really great, these. And they only ever had one printing in the UK. I can't understand it. And there's also Tales of the Cthulhu Mythos as well, which is up there, spine on. And that's got the wonderful Return of the Lloigor by Colin Wilson, which is a mythos story set in South Wales. It's the most elegant and best mythos story I've ever read. It's fantastic. You could get it as a chapbook from Village Press, very collectible now. I've got one. If you ever see it, snap it up. Well, we're getting there. So as I say, I've gone for rows of horror and mainstream fiction and other bits of A format stuff behind the front layer of SF. I did think about getting some octavos in here, but they stick out over the edge with there's a line of A's behind them, so I've got to rethink about that. What I should have done, of course, was get one of these that was twice as tall, so go pretty much right up to the ceiling, because there is space here. But my original plan was to put this somewhere else, and that hasn't come to pass. But you know, we'll see. Maybe that'll happen, and maybe this will go somewhere else. This is the reality for most people, I think, who don't have a large house. I mean, in the North America, I see a lot of people with you know, book collections. They've got lots of room. Of course, houses in the UK are smaller, and a big house is expensive. And you know, as I've said before, booksellers, we're not exactly the most well-paid people in the universe. It is only a retail job after all, you know. So we're really cooking now, and I've pretty much filled this. So it's slightly smaller than the other one I got. It's a different model, same company, Wayfair, but it is slightly narrower, just a little bit. You can't get quite, you know, this, with the other one there's an extra sort of book at each level, thin book usually, obviously, but you know, it's A format cities, so we're good. And of course I've got things tucked underneath, and just to show you what's here, because you're not essentially seeing my favourite authors. Brian Ball, look at that, bit of Ballard. You know, that's the one, Wind from Nowhere, suppressed by the Ballard estate, not in print since that one, early 70s. Drowned World, I was looking at a Drowned World folio yesterday in Tintin. You'll see that in a video, you might have seen it by now, if not, it'll come up. Trusty Exhibition. I used to have loads of these Panthers. I know Jules Burt's been collecting them. I should try and get the rest again because they're beautiful. Surveying that, so I'm quite happy with that now. And yeah. So that's fitted in quite nicely. It does mean there's more weight in the other corner of the room, so the position I've put the records in isn't permanent, so the LPs will have to be shifted again, but I'll probably do that tomorrow. On to the next phase. So the big question now is, do I have 2 piles of A formats with the text block outward as I did before in this area? I think I probably do. I could do with more of these bookends, but I don't have any. I must get some. Most very straightforward ones. I'll show you another one there with my Delaney's there. Look at that. They're just nice and simple. Save lots of space. You've got to tuck them under properly. So yeah, so we'll look at this at the next stage. We've got Gregory Benford, And let's see, more Gregory Benford. That's one I got in Hay the other day. And we have Howard Burke, The Sun Grows Cold. Look at that. Howard Burke, what a name. Gollancz Yellow Jacket. Graham's got one of those. There's a Best of You, The Rat Race, aka Who He. That's a terribly spine-leaning Hamlin from the early 80s. And very hard to get in good nick, this book. So, great book, though. And there's my original copy of The Demolished Man. Wow. Takes me back to the 70s and early 80s. I bet you haven't read this. Philip K. Dick is Dead, Alas, by Michael Bishop, aka The Secret Ascension. This is the one printing it had in the UK in the late 80s from Grafton. Bit of spine fade. Fantastic novel. If you're a dickhead and you don't have it, try and get one. It's really, really great. Some of my Bradbury share. That one there, Memory of Murder. That's really early crime stories from the 30s. Now, recently Collins have done a B format which claims to be his crime stories, and it's mostly just his horror stories from other collections. So the stuff that's in Memory of Murder pretty much isn't in it. There are some great crime stories in there. A lot of them never been reprinted since. I've had that since the 80s. Bought her in Forever People in Bristol. God, I really missed that shop, even though it's been closed for 25 years now. So everything stops for coffee, and there I am trying to make coffee. The postman knocks at the door with my new John Fox album, which I've got to do an unboxing of later on. And then Smudge wants to come in at the same time. It's all exasperating. Nothing happens for age, all happens at the same time. I decided it was time for a break. And of course I've tipped some coffee on the old carpet in the hideout, and the video window will go off the chain. Luckily she's out at the moment, love her. Anyway, time for coffee and cake. Bradbury, Clark, Budris, Burroughs, those sort of people. That's my back level there. Right, second tier now, and we've got some C's there. There's my old Arthur C. Clarke. I haven't got many books in this condition in my collection. Look at that, my God. That's The Deep Fix by James Colvin. Of course, that's Michael Moorcock. And look at the state of it. I've had this for years. And it'd be nice to have a reissue, actually, wouldn't it, really? And compact from the mid-60s. Wow, look at that. And of course, Moorcock's own band was called The Deep Fix. By now, I may have filmed, it may even be up and running already, a Moorcock-Hawkwind crossover video called Warriors on the Edge of the Sublime. So if you're unfamiliar with Hawkwind, if you like Moorcock, or unfamiliar with both, check it out. PKD, there's a row behind there as well. And I'm leaving a bit of space, as I said, for acquisitions as they come in. Harlan Ellison and some Farmer, which is nice. Got the old fictional biographies here, two of my favourites by Farmer. That's the secret with Farmer. Don't read Riverworld. Well, you can, it's fun. And World of Tears, it's okay. But go for the more obscure stuff. I mean, this is probably his best written book, I would say. Lord Tiger, fantastic. I mentioned associational titles, and here's some of Ellison's. These are all Ace paperbacks, which I mostly bought new in the early 80s when they got reissued. Again, I got them from Forever People in Bristol. And these two are linked together. Web the City, aka Rumble, and that's his non-fiction account of how he joined a street gang so he could research this novel, which is a bit like West Side Story without the romance, really, and without the songs, which is kind of a good thing, I suppose. So I do like West Side Story. Now, when I mention West Side Story, of course, I mean the original, the remake. The original's the one with Russ Tamblyn. This is my Lost World from 1969, so Arthur Conan Doyle, 3 and 6. John Murray, purchased in Lear's in Cardiff, in one of the arcades, which is the biggest bookshop in Wales at that time, probably. And then it got taken over by Blackwell, so we'll say no more about that. And then it disappeared. It was briefly, part of it was Ian Allen, Transport and Militaria Shop. But yeah, this is where my SF journey as a reader begins. One of my favourite books. Another early passion of mine was Daphne du Maurier, who could write anything. And I've read loads of books by her. More or less all the stuff's in print now. There's a couple of late ones not in print. And this is a science fiction novel, The House on the Strand. It's kind of a time slip romance thing. She was pretty much the inventor of the time slip romance, as far as I can tell. And this is a great book, but a guy takes a drug which transports him back in time. It's set in Cornwall. I haven't read it for years, but I really enjoyed it at the time. Good literary SF. She could write anything. So if you want to read a du Maurier that's got SF content, pick this one up. It's very tempting to put hardcovers here, actually, but I think I might just try and get some of the A formats with spine out, but we'll see. But there you go. I got those are the Stephen Golding. This is Doc Smith, but they're Stephen Golding. I got those from Troutmark, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That one there is Berkeley, and there was the 10th one, Clockwork Traitor. That was there in Berkeley first time. I didn't buy it, went back and got that one, so I'm missing Clockwork Traitor. I should try and get Eclipse in Binaries, and then both of them in Panther Granada or Grafton. You see how the name changes as time goes on. But you know, we'll see. I'm not that sort of collector really, but you know, I'll wait till I come across them. But that's a rather nice one. So there we go, and you see all sorts of other bits and pieces there. And Heinlein, M. John Harrison, who would freak out to be next to Robert Heinlein, but that's the mercy of the alphabet. I do like this Bain edition of Orphans of the Sky, which is the only one I've ever had. Fantastic. And I mean, this book here, this was the first Heinlein I've read, and I must have been about 14, and I've been reading people like Philip K. Dick and Clarke. I tried Frank Herbert, didn't think a lot of him. Wells, Wyndham, Doyle, you know, sort of great literary writers. And I love this cover, but I find this book so prurient, I couldn't finish it. And having said that, I would love one in mint condition, and a hard cover with that jacket in very fine would really turn me on. I love that jacket. Great title as well, I Will Fear No Evil. I have been looking for a copy of Time Enough for Love in that sort of period as well from NEL, and they're like hen's teeth, and they're always in such a state. Real shame. Front of all those H's, we've got sort of F's and G's. As you see, this is some of my Farmer collection, and I am quite a big Farmer fan. As you see, I'm not a completist. There's a lot I have got rid of, and as I say, I think the secret with Phil stuff is to read the more obscure books. You know, they're usually better. My favourite one by a long chalk is A Feast Unknown, which is fantastic. And but you know, not for the faint-hearted, one of the Wold Newton series. I'm going to do a video about them at some point. Somebody you don't hear about these days, Mick Farren. I mean, this is a super uncommon associational book. This is a rock and roll novel. Mick Farren was a rock star, music journalist and science fiction writer. He was in a band called the Social Deviants, who morphed into the Pink Fairies. This paperback, if you can find it at all, only ever had this printing, will cost you 50 quid at least. And this is the best rock and roll novel I've ever read. It's absolutely amazing. If you see it in any condition, pick it up. It should be a Penguin Modern Classic. It's that good. Mick had a real facility with titles. I mean, these are fantastic. DNA Cowboy series, The New Real Atrocity. Look at that. This Robbie the Robot look. And Synaptic Manhunt. I mean, they don't make them like that anymore. That's a proper title. And there are two others in that series. I don't have them. I should get them really. So, and this I bought for the title alone. This is a late one. This is sort of 80s Exit Funtopia. Brilliant. You know, this is what you've been clamouring to see. He said, reselling himself in the chair, my A format. So there you go. There's some J's, there's some mint Frank Herbert's there for the Dune fans. Ted Blue Jeter, all sorts of things. They're not going to stay like this, I think, because it's going to take up too much space, and I can get some small hardcovers into this if I go back to text block out. So this is just to show you some of what I have really. You'll notice it's mostly sort of 70s, 80s stuff. There's some 60s books there. There's Ken, one of the few people I'm interested in these days in terms of hard SF. You'll notice there's a lack of hard SF, generally speaking. Lots of Barry Malzberg, who I absolutely love. If you haven't read Barry, you're missing out. He's miserable, but he's grim, but he's fantastic. There's an old favourite of, I think, Media Death Cult. Moyd likes a bit of Philip Mann, doesn't he? So there you go. Eye of the Queen, that's the one I like. Not a major writer in my opinion, but there you go. And there's some other stuff there. Look at that, in Seminoid, film tie-in edition. I don't normally have film tie-in editions here, but I am fond of that, and I do like that film. People say it's terrible. I think it's really good fun. Now here's an interesting question. Now Moorcock's works are all linked because they're all part of the Eternal Champion sequence really. And I would say, broadly speaking, the Eternal Champion books are more or less all fantasy. Now, some of them are SF, technically speaking, like Behold the Man, for example, or Time Travel, Jerry Cornelius. But as they all take place in the same multiverse, and there seems to be magic then, it does seem to be supernatural, or maybe it's just a question of interpretation. Maybe my Moorcock should be with my fantasy. Under my own rules, they really should be, so I'm going to have to rethink that. Somebody I got into only a while ago is Doris Paserchia, and she died late last year. She's about 92. She's ancient, absolutely bonkers stuff. And her books are getting very hard to get. They were hard to get anyway. A lot of them were never published in the UK. One of them was published in Women's Press, SF, and that was Star Rider. If you ever see that, pick that up. But she's absolutely great. She's so strange. I do like her stuff. Yeah, it's clearly not going to happen. You know, bottom 2.5 shelves, still all textbook face out. And I've got about 20 titles to fit in. So I think what I'm going to do is flip these ones on the top shelves, text block out. I'll try and reveal the others as we go down. And then I can get some hardcovers down the bottom and relieve the pressure on the other side of the hideout, which is good. Somebody that nobody reads enough of is Keith Roberts. And, you know, absolutely fantastic stuff. And, you know, these haven't been in print in mass market editions for years because Keith was so difficult. And these are all amazing books. Most of these I've got in hardcover first as well, and the only one that's in print is Pavan, you know, which is his alternative history, which is the alternative history to end all alternative histories, really. You know, beautiful books, and he was so good. I can do some more videos about Keith at some point, and any of his books you see are worth picking up. He was always absolutely brilliant. And this Molly Zero, that is one of the very best dystopian novels I've ever read. And it's just absolutely fantastic. I'm going to talk about that in a dystopias video I'm going to make soon. The cherry picking is all about quality, and what I really go for is SF that's got really good literary quality and at the same time has the energy which only genre fiction has. And I look for sort of economy of prose, brief books. As you see, there's not a doorstoppers here, you know, and it very much cleaves to my taste, which is 1950 to 1990. There are things after that I like, the things before I like, but you know, this to me is the real sort of core of when SF was evolving and growing and having revolutions every few years. It really was something very special. I'm not showing you everything here, of course. I'm aware I've missed out most of my Doc Smiths, as you've seen loads of those, and Bob Shaw, and there's Norman Spinrad, The Iron Dream, another cracking alternative history novel. Old Adolf on the cover there, don't you just love it? You can't lose with a title like that and a concept like that. Fantastic stuff. So, and of course there's lots of things I've sort of read and sold over the years. I've got rid of over half the books I've ever owned in my time, and of course there's lots of things you won't see here. You'll be thinking, well, where's this, where's that? And there's lots of them I've got in hardcover, you know, and this is strictly A format, and I have other A formats in boxes under the bed as well. You know, it's just bonkers. We're drawing to a close here now, and again I've sort of missed out some Stablefoods and some other bits and pieces, and this is just to give you a general idea, really. As I say, Sturgeon, Tevis, my Jack Vances are pretty much out of order there. Just show you a couple of A formats which are actually in print. You know, if I see A format books and I like the author, I try to always buy them because I love the A format. I want to keep it going. I think they're print on demand now though. Ports of Call by Jack Vance and Luraloo, and of course these are the two sequels to The Night Lamp, which of course is a B format, and it's Golloc's masterwork, oh joy. But those are still out there, so there you go. So you can still get them. And my Wells in A format, I used to have masses and masses, and I got rid of loads, and I should have kept them. So I'm going to replace some of them. It's Kate Wilhelms I acquired fairly recently. I do need some more Jack Williamson because I have read more and I don't have them. And yeah, my John Wyndhams, you know, they're so old now. I bought them all new in the 70s when I was a kid, and as you can see, they've seen lots of action. They were pristine when I bought them. They've really seen a lot of action. I'm very fond of them. Great stuff. And a bit of Zelazny. I'm a bit short of Zelazny actually. I haven't got the Chronicles of Amber anymore. I need to get those again. So there we go. Well, I'm going to move towards final assembly now, as I say, and we'll get some hardcovers at the bottom. So I had a bit of a brainwave. I moved some stuff around and I thought, well, what can I get down there? Books which are very small. And then I thought, well, I'll get a few anthologies here. And then it struck me, I've got a lot of sort of, I say not a lot, there's about 20 titles there, maybe fantasy and horror in octavos mixed in with my SF. So I thought I'd pop them there. So Atanasio, Peter Beagle, Jonathan Carroll, some horror there from Ray Garton and Charles L. Grant. Bits and pieces, Saberhagen, Vance, Wolf. So yeah, so they fit in nicely. So that creates some space for me in my sort of octavo corner. Still lots of work to do on that. Well, this is the end of my A format adventures for today. Hope you enjoyed that. As you see, the text blocks are still out, but it is what it is. This bookcase is reconfigured. That's a crazy book, The Madman by Samuel R. Delany. Associational. And here's a quick review of the new bookcase in situ, which you'll see behind me when I shoot from my desk. That's looking quite tasty. To have my A's and B's in A format. So this is Outlaw Bookseller signing out for now. Join me soon for more SF and general bibliographic stuff. Bye for now.